What is going on today, guys? And in this video, we are going to be comparing real life to Forza Motorsport. Now, how are we doing that? Well, what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be comparing, side-by-side comparing, a lap of Road Atlanta in my real-life BRZ to a lap of Road Atlanta in a fairly stock BRZ in Forza Motorsport 7. Now, I tried to make this as hypothetically even as possible. I gave the BRZ in Forza sport tires, sport brakes, and a rear wing to sort of replicate the real-life BRZ TS, which had 200 treadwear tires and track day brake pads and the factory rear wing, sort of as a bit of a fair-ish comparison. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this, and I'll explain to you guys why I wanted to do this and why I thought it was pretty interesting. Now, before we get started, I do want to address the fact that, yes, I am well aware that Forza Motorsport is not a true simulator. Forza Motorsport is played by a lot of people, and that's the reason why I wanted to make the comparison here, because a lot of people play Forza 7, and I see people sometimes comparing cars in Forza 7 to like, well, if my car in Forza 7 can do X, Y, and Z, then can it do X, Y, and Z in real life? Well, one of the biggest things I noticed, as you'll see later on in the video, is that a stock power BRZ in Forza can actually go way faster on the straights than a stock power BRZ in real life. And I was actually I feel like I shouldn't have been surprised by that, but I find it so mind-blowing how much faster the BRZ is in Forza than it is in real life. And obviously you'll see this when I show you guys the laps later on, but setting this thing up, I was a little bit back and forth on what to do, especially with the tire size, because they didn't let me have the exact size that I wanted. So I ended up kind of doing this weird kind of balance of sizes, and I tried to do a wheel that looked similar to the TS wheels because I really don't like the Gen 1 wheels. The Gen 1 wheels always looked a little bit awkward in my opinion, so I spent a little bit of time trying to find wheels that seemed fairly TS-ish or TS-esque, if you will. But once I finished up with the actual mild build, I just want to clarify that it is a mild build. I found these, and yes, I know they add just a teeny little bit of weight, but I didn't really care too much about that because they looked close enough to what TS wheels would look like. I also upped them to 18s from 17s because the TS in real life runs 18s. I wanted to make this as close as I could to an actual comparison, even though I know that, yes, you can never fully compare. Realistically, anyway, you could never fully compare a real-world car to a car in Forza Motorsport 7, but nonetheless, I wanted to set it up to be somewhat of a comparison, so let's go ahead and actually cut to the driving now. Now, first I'm going to show you guys my real-world lap before I show you my Forza lap, and full disclosure here, I am no professional or anything like that. This is just fun for me, and I'm honestly really amazed that I was able to manage a 146-ish in a pretty much stock BRZ with brakes and tires, but regardless, the timer that I used is obviously an overlay timer. It's not an official digital timer. That's why or not an official GPS timer, which is why I say 146-ish, because I'm not gonna say that it's timed down to the exact, exact spot, because it's not an official GPS timer. But anyways, had a lot of fun at this track day. I've done, I want to say, probably 3 track days in the TS since I bought it a few months ago, and I've really learned a lot about the car in that period of time, and I've also learned that the TS, even in basically almost stock form, is an absolute blast on track. And if any of you guys have ever thought about getting your car out on track, I highly recommend it. There's really no replacement for that experience, and there's no replacement for everything that you learn about your car and your own driving. And it kind of made me wonder why more people don't end up getting out on track, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, this is literally one of the best things you can do if you have a sports car. And I literally mean that for any kind of sports car. It doesn't mean if you have a BRZ, FRS, 350Z, Genesis, whatever it is. Find your nearest track and literally take it out and do a track day. And as long as your car is safe, you're pretty much good to go. I mean, keep an eye on your tires, keep an eye on your brake fluid, you know, make sure you know what kind of brake pads you have. But other than that, go out and have some fun on the track. Now, as we finish up this lap, again with like a 146-ish, we're going to go ahead and cut now into the Forza lap. Now, what's really interesting to me, once you switch from the real-life footage to the Forza footage, and you look at both of them back-to-back, you feel like you're in the same place, but there are obviously some, like, odd little differences. And, you know, right off the bat, right out of the way, yeah, one of the biggest things you notice in terms of going from the real-life footage to the Forza footage is that there's absolutely no risk or fear dynamics in Forza. Absolutely none. I mean, in real life, yeah, you're gonna care whether or not you end up in the turn 1 wall, and you're gonna do whatever you can to avoid that. In Forza, it doesn't really matter, so obviously you're gonna be willing to take a lot of, you know, take a lot of different risks that you wouldn't be willing to take in real life. Now, if you notice here between turns 5 and 6 on the little straightaway, you're going a lot faster than you are in real life. Now, completely screwed up 6, but the crazy part here is the back straight, because when this car gets out onto the back straight, the way it accelerates is so incredibly different to how it accelerated in real life. And it almost makes me wonder if, are the power numbers in Forza inflated in some way, or are the tracks smaller? It's very weird, because it starts to bring into, not necessarily into question the scale, but like it's a very strange thing to think about, and it almost makes me wonder how these things are actually scaled, because when you get out on that back straight, something about the scale doesn't make complete sense. And it's kind of odd to say, but once you look at the footage side by side, you guys will really see what I mean. Now, as you watch these two clips side by side, I want you guys to kind of take notice of where the Forza car makes leaps and bounds and pulls away like crazy, especially on the straightaways. And also, I want you guys to kind of compare the track in real life to Forza, and let me know some of the differences you see in the comment section down below. Now, I've wanted to compare real life to Forza like this for a while on a real track, and it was a really cool opportunity to be able to do this. So I want to thank everybody that was involved with being able to do this, but also something to keep in mind is the fact that as I'm looking at these two clips, I'm like, holy cow, my line in real life is a whole heck of a lot cleaner than it is in Forza, probably because I was using a controller on that lap in Forza, well, on that whole session in Forza. But as I watch these, I'm like, for example, in the straightaway between turn 5 and turn 6, holy cow, it just obliterated the real-world BRZ, and by the time we were around turn 7, the real-world BRZ was just starting to get around turn 7. Now, I can clarify for you guys that when I'm braking in the real-life BRZ, I'm braking at about 118 miles an hour. Now, in Forza, you'll see almost 130. Keep in mind that that BRZ is completely and totally 100% stock in the game. So that right there should tell you a lot. Like, it really should tell you a lot in terms of the way power is scaled in Forza versus the way it's scaled in real life. And by no means am I trying to, like, tear Forza apart here or anything like that, but what I am trying to do is sort of do a little bit of my own personal study into kind of how this all works and how real life compares to Forza. And again, I'll go ahead and clarify, yes, I understand that Forza Motorsport is not a true simulation, but it has a very large viewer base and a very large player base, and I figured it would be a very interesting experiment to do, seeing as there are real-world tracks in Forza Motorsport 7 that are in real life as well, and I had the opportunity to put them up side by side. So if you guys enjoyed that little experiment, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below, and let me know what some of the biggest things were in terms of differences between real world and Forza that you noticed. I mean, obviously, there are obvious differences, like, well, you can do XYZ in Forza that you can't do in real life, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about, like, little details that you notice that were like, huh, I didn't realize that that was there in real life versus not being there in Forza, or vice versa, or little things here and there. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little bit of a different kind of a video, but if you all enjoyed it, let me know, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.